Hey friends, thank you so much for tuning in today. It is exciting to connect with readers. I am so on fire as a teacher. I'm so pumped up as an educator. I'm finding myself in this amazing place. It is early March. It is snowing and raining and sleeting, and the weather. One day last week it was 65 degrees, and then the next day we got 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches of snow. Things have just been completely insane here in Michigan, but I'm on top of the world. And the reason that I'm on top of the world as an educator is 100% because I have the best job in the world. I always am happy in job. I'm always blessed. I love where I work. I love the people I work with, and I love my students so much. But as you know, sometimes we can get a little overwhelmed, and sometimes things can feel hard, and sometimes we can be stressed out with all that's going on in our classrooms and all that's going on with our schools and our communities and our families. And we're teaching and we're teaching and we're teaching and we're teaching, and it's hard, and we get frustrated sometimes, and we just need help. And one of the things that I find I need more than anything else as a teacher is the opportunity to learn. It's the opportunity to go to conferences. It's the opportunity to learn from experts, the opportunity to connect with like-minded people, to connect with people that are going to push my thinking. And that happened the last 2 days. I attended the Reading Now Network Early Literacy Symposium. I think that's what it's called, something like that. I attended that on Tuesday with, I think, 5 people from my building. And it was phenomenal. It was absolutely mind-blowing. Karen Mapp, one of the authors of Powerful Partnerships, was there. And she really pushed us with parent involvement and connecting what we're doing in our classrooms to what we're doing with our parents and communities. And she pushed us to think, don't just do things with parents, but find ways to do things with parents that matter and that are going to affect student achievement and build those relationships in a way that you can't do just by, I think one of her book before this was called like Beyond the Bake Sale, just by having a bake sale. So it really got me thinking, and it really got us thinking. We were all sitting together, the Parma people, and we're like, yeah, we're doing all of these things. We listed all of these things that we were doing with parents. And then she said, check these 2 things. And I can't remember what they are, but they're in this book. Does your events have this and this? And we honestly had no events that had both of the things. So we need to go back to the drawing board, and we have a lot of work to do because we want to make sure that we're using that time we have with parents wisely. Look, I'm wearing my baseball jersey. It's wear your favorite team day today at school. So I wore my high school baseball jersey. I teach at the school I went to as a child. And my students were like, that's a sweet jersey. Where did you get it? I'm like, it's my high school baseball jersey. And they had the nerve to say, and it's still about reading, to create reading memories that are unforgettable, to kids talking about books and how we all work together in our community to make the world awesome for readers. It seemed to go really well. There were lots of people there, and they seemed to get something out of it. You never know. I will say that I probably have received more emails from that session than I have ever received after presenting. And it has been really fun to connect with the people in my session and to just see their passion for learning and for wanting to make the world better for their readers. One of the coolest things about this conference, and if you live anywhere in Michigan or near Michigan, you need to go to this conference because the people there are so into helping kids as readers and helping their community grow together as readers and writers and thinkers. These 2 ladies came up to me after the session and were talking about it, and they actually knew someone that I went to high school with. One of my dear friends was on their PTO. So I'm like, oh, you know Brooke. Brooke's the best. And they're like, yeah, we know Brooke, and he's awesome. And then I'm like, oh, so what do you do? Thinking they're going to say, I'm a 5th grade teacher, or I'm a principal, or I'm a literacy coach. No, the one lady, she said, I do home appraisals. And the other lady said is a landscaper. So at this conference with some of the best professional speakers in the world, really in the world where they're speaking, we have parents sitting in and learning alongside their principals and their other teachers. It was amazing. It was Grand Haven schools that had all of these amazing people, parents that were there, and their principal was there. And I loved talking with them. They just did one book, one school with Ivan. So I presented in the morning, and then we had this wonderful lunch. It's like your traditional lunch, like pasta and salad. And then Ernest Morel spoke the afternoon keynote. And honestly, friends, Ernest Morel blew my socks off. I've seen him speak before at Scholastic Reading Summits, but in smaller chunks of time. He had like 45 minutes to an hour, and it was honestly one of the greatest talks ever. If you haven't seen Ernest's Every Child is Super Reader book that he wrote with Pam Allen, you need to read it. If you ever can find a time to see him speak, you must go. He blew my mind. He talked a lot about how kids have like 5,000 waking hours a year, and how as teachers, we have 1,000 of those hours, and how we need to take what we're doing in those 1,000 hours and make it in a way so that 1,000 hours can influence what they're doing in their other 5,000 hours. And I found that concept so fascinating. What we're doing here in our like little bit, what can it do to impact this even bigger chunk? And I thought it was so fascinating. He talked a lot about 10 more minutes of reading every single day is 1,000,000 more words. I'm like on fire. Like I am so on fire after he was done talking. Like I wanted to leave there, not do my afternoon session. I wanted to leave there. I'm like, I'm in Kalamazoo. It's an hour from Parma. I could get back to Parma. I could like see my students, and I could just hang out with them for the last 40 minutes of the day. It would be awesome. Like that's how fired up I was. I wanted to leave and speed down the road and like hang out with my students. But I didn't. I presented that afternoon. And honestly, it was like Ernest Morel was like my high school football coach getting me pumped up for a football game, because I don't think I've ever had that much energy presenting. And honestly, like not to brag, but I honestly felt like it was the greatest presentation I've ever given, because my energy was so high. I was so into it. I was so excited. And I just wanted to like connect with these educators. I wanted to just like give them anything that I had that could maybe help them. I was just on fire, like learning with these people who are so passionate about kids and books and reading and success. I just couldn't get enough. So that was wonderful. Then I drove home, got the kids. My wife is up at McCall, the technology conference in Michigan. So I got the kids and we did all the kid thing at night. I got them all to bed, took them to school the next day. And then I drove to Kalamazoo to work out. I stopped halfway to work out. And then I drove up to McCall, to do a half-day workshop on kind of the same idea of getting kids excited about reading, but what tools can we use in our classrooms and in our libraries. And so it was a small group. It was like 10 of us. It was a 3.5-hour workshop, which I was a little nervous about, but it was amazing. These librarians were just so into books. I had all these picture books lined up, and they were all up there, and they wanted to look at the picture books and touch the picture books. And we talked about them, and we just talked about different ways to get kids talking about books, finding ways to get kids excited about them and how they can share and use their voice and empower them to be readers and just improve their reading identity. And I had a blast. I hope that they got something out of it. I learned a lot from them. A lot of them were overcoming their fears of being on camera when we were using Flipgrid. It was really fun to watch them do that. So for me, like the big picture that I'm taking away from this is we have to find time to go and learn from other people. Like even if we have the best school in the world, which I feel Parma is the best elementary school in all the land, we still need to get out of that school and go and learn with other people. Because when we do, we feel so on fire. And I was back in the classroom today, and I honestly felt like it was one of my best days as a teacher this entire calendar year. Like since January, I felt like this was one of my best. And it's the first time I've been out of my classroom at a conference where I'm picking the sessions that I'm going to and that sort of thing. So I really felt so alive and so on fire. And I think it's because I was with those people and they just got me so fired up and jacked up. I just wanted to teach. I wanted to like be with my kids. I wanted to talk with my kids. I wanted to just share books with them. Never stop learning. As teachers, we owe it to our kids to never stop learning, to never stop growing, to continue to push ourselves to be the best teachers we can be. And when we're done pushing ourselves to be better, we need to quit. Because our kids need us to have this fire, this passion, this drive to make their lives better. And I'm so thankful that my principal, Ms. Haney, helped allow me to make that happen and let me go to these, that we get a chance as Parma teachers to go to things and learn. And she always finds a way to make that happen and make that work, because she knows when we're learning, we're getting better. And when we're getting better, that's positively impacting the kids at Parma. Whew. I'm pumped up. And I will say, though, that after that conference yesterday, and I drove home. I did the kids thing. I fell asleep at 8:15. Like I fell asleep at 8:15. My daughters weren't even home from gymnastics. One of their parents was bringing them home. So I fell asleep on this couch. And then like I heard the door open and I got up and put them to bed and then went straight back to bed myself. So I would love to know what conferences you've been attending. Where do you find that passion to relight the fire when you're like grinding in your classroom and you're having a great time in your class, but you just need someone else to feed you. We can't always be feeding. As teachers, we're always feeding other people. We're always giving. And it's nice sometimes to just receive and other people to bring their energy to you. So I want to know if you're stuck around to the end, in the comments. If you're watching this live, if you're watching later, I want to know what conferences do you love? What books do you love? What things get you on fire? Is it a Twitter chat? What is it? What gets you excited? I see Barb's here and she says she's going to Nerd Camp from, I think VT is Vermont. So that's exciting. I know that Nerd Camp feeds a lot of people here in Michigan and maybe people from 44 states that are coming. And it just is such an energy thing. Like even more than like what you're learning, just like being around that energy and people that feel the same way as you and validates your thinking and makes you feel like you're doing the right things and that things are what you want them to be. We owe it to our kids. We owe it to our kids to keep learning. And if we want them to keep learning and we want them to keep growing and to be lifelong learners, we need to be lifelong learners ourselves. Readers, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for learning. Thank you so much for watching a YouTube video where a teacher's talking about never stopping to learn. That shows your passion and your drive towards learning, towards kids, towards education. We have the best job in the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Happy reading.